Welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here we talk about the connection between creativity and healing, and how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally. Join us now. Hi everyone, Larissa Russell of Creative You Healing, and today I have with me Lauri Ingram. Lauri combines over 40 years of corporate experience and deep passion for spiritual well-being through creative practices. Grounded in mindful practices, Lauri guides her clients to discover their true, authentic selves. Lauri offers both one-on-one work as well as small and large group presentation and workshops, offering practical and real-world ways to connect with your true nature and allow your life path to unfold. So welcome, Lauri.
Well, thank you. Very, very excited to be here, as always.
Yes, well, I'm excited to have you. First time on the podcast, which is great.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And so for those who don't know, can you share
Mhm.
some of your story and what's brought you to where you are now?
Sure. And my story really has I like to describe it in two paths. Like so many people that I have met my age, I'm in my 60s, full disclosure. When I was growing up, I was very creative. I was always coloring and creating and just I used to create little worlds in the woods, I was always there. But then moving into adulthood, it became get a job, right? Don't go to art school like you wanted. And I ended up in computer technology, information technology, and just wrapped up about a month ago a 40 plus year career in corporate information technology. And the other half of my path is I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school, and it never really resonated with me. And I always had this interest in, I didn't know what to call it, but I always felt like there was something else going on in the world, right? I used to, was interested in oracle cards, and I remember I Ching, and I had a Ouija board, and I was reading a lot, and I had this existential crisis when I was a teenager of what happens when I die, and I was always questioning, but I really couldn't share that with anybody at the time. So take that interest that was always there, right? And this life of corporate, tamping down my true self. Life happens. I got married, divorced, had all sorts of stuff. About 10 years ago, I realized that I wasn't thriving. I think that's the word, right? My life, I was not very fulfilled in what I was doing, even though I enjoyed the people I worked with. And I had the opportunity to do some kind of fun, creative things. And that really propelled me on pretty rapid spiritual journey where I rediscovered my creativity. I ended up in a seminary. I was trained in different crystal modalities, and it's all kind of come full circle to now. This is the work I do with people. And the creative modalities I use are primarily art journaling, and I follow the cosmic smashbook process. But I weave in the spirituality and the crystals and color, and it all really ties together to the journey that I went on. I now share that process with others.
I think that's so true of so many women, right? They do what they're supposed to do,
Yes.
that get
Yes.
married, go into corporate, do all the things that they're supposed to do, have the kid, and then they get to a certain point in their life and they're like, whoa, is this really what I want? Is this really what I want? And I call that tapping into your feminine divine, when you start to pay attention and you start to go, there's something more for me. I know there's something more for
Right.
me. And
Right.
I think that's so important when you actually follow that. So I
And
think,
follow the breadcrumbs, as my spiritual mentor used to call it with me. She's like, just follow the breadcrumbs, like one step at a time. Just find that thing that's calling to you. And I also went through, 8 years ago now, breast cancer, which really knocked me for a loop and really gave me this almost sense of urgency like, wow, Lauri, the rug could, you could, everything could, and everything did change in a matter of, a day, right? Everything in my life totally changed. And that really shifted my perspective a lot, uh, in terms of, don't waste any more time. And we sometimes we say if you're not paying attention, the universe kind of hits you upside the head. That was my hit
Yeah.
upside the head. Um, but there's gifts in everything, and the gift for me was really embracing who I really am.
Yeah. I hear that from a lot of people who have gone through cancer, actually, uh,
Mm.
that it really is an eye opener in making you pay attention to what you want in your life. Am I really doing what I want with my life? Because, this could be a very limited, and that's
Yes,
that wake up call. And so,
it is. Yeah, it
uh,
is. It
yeah,
is.
we have many generations in my family of cancer, women, breast cancer and uterine cancer. And it was definitely, I think, that wake up point for everyone, if I think back to that, right? And so it's like, let's not wait till then. After all these
Exactly.
generations, can we start sooner? I didn't wait for them. I did wait for, a major depressive episode that
Mm.
almost killed me. But yeah, let's
Yeah. And we
we'll
all have those points in our lives, and they come in many different ways, right? It
yeah.
can be that depression that you really struggle to get out of, or the debilitating anxiety, or the health issue, or so many ways it can happen to us.
Hmm.
But it's just that listening to your heart and saying,
Hmm.
what is really, what is my soul really telling me here? Can I hear it, and can I honor it and follow it? And for me, it was a little bit at a time. It's been 8 years of just 8 to 10 years of just trying different things and following what I loved and doing this work part time,
Hmm.
until I'm coming up on 65, and I said, if I don't do it now, when am I really gonna just do this,
Hmm. Yeah.
and really dive into it? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary and exciting all at the same time, but
It's funny you say that because my granddaughter went into kindergarten yesterday. And so I talked to her the day before and I said, "Are you excited?" She's like, "Excited and nervous." And I was like,
mm,
yes,
oh,
emotions are not just one thing. It makes sense
they're
that you're
not.
more than one. And yeah, it is. And every day is a new adventure when you work for yourself, I have to say.
I'm learning that, actually. Yes, but creativity too, like I tell my clients, is so many things, right? It's we're always creating, even if we're not necessarily, I don't consider myself an artist, but we're always creating, whether we're actually working with our hands and color and painting, or we're writing. I do a lot of work with crystals, and I create crystal grids with nature. That's creativity.
Mm.
Just creating your day and your, the scarf you choose to wear. It's always a creative process.
And I say that often to people who say they're not creative. I'm like, you are alive, you are creative.
Right.
We are creating our reality all the time. We create the day we have. We create, how we experience things. We create, for me, it's spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets.
That's very creative.
I
And I
have,
think that's why I was drawn to computer programming. Computer programming was very creative. It was
mhm,
telling a story and creating a story, and you know, and for me, running the creative part of running my business is I do my own website. I do my own social, because I love that, because that is a different way of creating for
yeah,
me.
yeah, absolutely. So creativity is in everything we do, and we just need to embrace that
Yes,
creativity.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And regardless of what you're doing too, there's always that path to healing. And it's healing, as well as it's just a lot of it is self-discovery.
Hmm.
Just finding what finding what really calls to you. And that's what I love about the Cosmic Smash Book process, it's an energetic spiritual process of journaling and layers and colors, and you can make a mess or you can do a collage. It doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
It's a lot. It's really just creating space for something to speak to you
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in an unexpected way. And anything we do creatively does give us that opportunity if we can, if just being curious about that healing and that return to wholeness that we are whole. We just sometimes need to be reminded of how we
Right.
get back there.
I find it's so interesting. Like Kat has the Cosmic Smash booking, and it's something that I've done for years and years and years. Didn't have a name.
Yeah.
And then I love that
Me
she like
too. Yes,
has
yeah.
made it a thing, right?
You
Like
made it
so
a
many
thing.
people know what that is now, and she's made it such a thing. And it's like, yeah, because it's an amazing healing tool, and different things like that. I love when it becomes a thing for people. It's the same with neurographic art right now. Is
Yes. Yeah.
popular. I have literally been doing that since I was a child. And it's like, but now it has a
But now
name
it
and
has a name, right?
understand it. I love that.
Zentangled. I was always, that was
Yeah,
Zentangling when I
you
was a
doodled
kid.
on the side of your page.
Doodling. But you're right. When it has a thing, then people and it becomes more mainstream. And I do, there's an abundance to the more people that it reaches, whatever it is. The more people it reaches, the more we collectively heal. And that's how the world changes. It's one person at a time, right? It's each of us, going down that process. And then eventually, you get this steamroller of and then the community that comes with it too. The
Yes.
supportive community that you have, that all these different different creative modalities all have these wonderful supportive communities as well.
And that's one of the big things. I think the internet has changed things. The,
Mhm.
because we can collaborate from around the world. But that collaborative energy, I know a lot of people when they're starting their business, they worry about, people stealing their ideas or things like that.
Mhm.
And I find that whole collaborative effort and that energy that we create together is so expansive,
Yeah,
and we feed off of each other, and we learn from each other, we share from each other. I don't know, it gives me goosebumps right now to think about it, because it has been what I've built my business on, is that collaborative effort. And I think it's so important in changing the world,
it
right?
is. And it really it's amazing to me when I do the different summits that you offer, and I'll do one of the sessions that someone else offers, and something I've never tried before, and I'll have fun, which we often don't give ourselves permission to, but then I notice that it unlocks something as well, and it just becomes this spaciousness of new ideas start to emerge of, oh, I could do this or I could do that, or I yeah, just not enough time in the day for all the things I'd love to play with. But for me, the joy is when I work with a client or somebody and they have an unexpected aha moment,
Oh, yes.
because you create space for them, and then they have this unlocking of, wow, I didn't realize what was really at the heart of the challenge that I have. Or the other thing I do with my clients is it's a process that takes several months, but I actually work with them on a spiritual life map where we actually look at our lives or their lives from a spiritual perspective. From the time you were a child to now, what has your relationship been with whatever you call spirit, God, universe, whatever,
Mhm.
right? What has that relationship been? When was spirit there for you? When wasn't it there, right? When did it leave you? When did it, maybe let you down? And what was that relationship, and how does it inform you now in your relationship? Because most people come to me because they're seeking a deeper relationship with their own spirituality and what that means.
Mhm.
And so looking at where they've come from and then having that inform where they go now. And I have, clients that work with me who use different creative ways to get there, whether it's, um, poetry, altered books, cosmic smash booking, whatever it might be. It's amazing when we look at our lives as a process that we're going. There's a thread that follows our lives, and we often forget what that thread might be. Um, but it's there. We just need to look at our lives perhaps a little bit differently
Yeah.
than just a regular story, you know.
And I think that reflection part and looking at what those threads are, what the patterns have been, things like
Mhm.
that throughout your life is really important because we often don't pay attention to that. And that's when I say spirit, hits me upside the head with a 2x4
Yeah.
because I haven't paid attention to those patterns. And so if we don't, then we have to repeat them until we do. And so it's really important to pay attention
Now,
to.
my first work with really healing art journaling 7 or 8 years ago was taking pictures of myself as a child with my parents and
Mm,
using those in art journals, but through kind of a reflection, meditation, contemplation, putting myself in the picture, right?
mhm.
And really feeling into, what was I thinking then? What did I perceive that I was feeling, or my mother may have been feeling, or my father may have, and that started my whole process of journaling, which then became art journaling, and was a tremendous healing opportunity for me. That really had me look at my childhood a lot differently. And periodically, you go back to those pictures, and I don't remember them, but yet there's something there, right?
Right. When you can travel back to those moments and connect to it to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the questions I ask all my guests is, what does healing with creativity mean to you? And I think we've talked about it a fair bit, but maybe you have a
Mhm.
answer you'd like to give.
I liken it to yeah, we have talked about it a little bit, but it's really to me a journey inward and healing that those parts of us that maybe we're not aware of. So it's a combination of self-discovery, giving ourselves permission. Um, it's an exercise of letting go of that inner critic that we all have. Um, but essentially it's a trip to authenticity,
Yes.
to that essence within us
Mhm.
that is perfect, that is whole, that is infinitely creative, where there are just there's no limit to the possibilities, but using creativity and healing, kind of going through those layers of the onion, proverbial layers of the onion to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's funny. Layers of the onion is such a common phrase that's used. I've actually started using like a ball of yarn where you
Yes,
pull
that's
the
a good one.
string and there's like a knot and then you have to stop and untie the knot and then pull the string. I find that because you sometimes have to stop and like, oh,
Yeah, and some of those knots can be difficult to get
yeah,
out. Yeah, it
yeah,
can be.
knot it
Yeah,
again.
that's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah,
I might be stealing that one, but I like,
that's
yeah.
fair.
But that is creativity. And when
Mm,
we're even working in cosmic smash booking or anything I do with creatively, I always stop and say, when is it done?
mm,
When you have anything if you've made, when is it done? How do you know it's done? It's a good practice of intuition, of listening, of what does this page have to tell you? Is this page done speaking to you? um, and then how do you end it and honor it for what it's told you?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've loved this conversation that we've been having. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners that maybe we haven't discussed today?
Um, no, I don't think so. I do appreciate the opportunity. like everybody else, I'm exploring as well, and everything I share with folks has been work that has been very valuable to me on my journey. So I share from whence I came, so to speak. So I appreciate that.
Yes, that's excellent. And you have a free gift.
I do. I created a little guide that folks can get, and one of the things I do whenever I'm creating is I create a little sacred space.
Mhm.
It could be little, it could be big, it could be temporary, it can stay around for a while. But I wrote a little guide on how I go through the process with some suggestions on how someone might begin that kind of practice to invite in divine inspiration through and it's another creative process, creating a little, you can call it an altar, sacred space. There's lots of ways to do it. So yeah, little file with pictures and instructions, and a little something for everybody. So
Well, we will make sure the link is there because that can be found on your website, I believe. And
yes.
so we'll have the link there. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
To our listeners, we will see you again next time. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days. Thank you for listening. If you found our podcast of interest, we'd love for you to leave a review wherever you listen in.